So it's been rumored since forever that the Defenders beyond Daredevil were going to return to the MCU along with Matt and Frank as Daredevil and Punisher at some point. Now these other people include Krysten Ritter's Jessica Jones, Mike Colter's Luke Cage, and Finn Jones's Danny Rand. Side note, I'm currently rewatching Jessica Jones at the moment, and how good is that first season? Like, David Tennant as Kilgrave, Krysten Ritter as Jessica Jones, some of the best casting in the MCU, some of the darkest and deepest stuff in the MCU. Just overall, still one of the best seasons of TV I've ever seen, and one of the best things to come out of the MCU. And people always talk about how Daredevil is like the peak of comic book television and stuff like that. I kind of think Jessica Jones season 1 is right alongside most of Daredevil as some of the best comic book TV we've ever gotten. It's absolutely fantastic. But we're not here to talk about Jessica Jones. We're here to talk about if these characters are going to be returning to the MCU. Also, a quick reminder to subscribe if you're not already. Anyway, these rumors have been going on since forever. We originally heard that Echo was going to feature a storyline that included Matt Murdock searching for a mysterious character, and that the mysterious character would be revealed to be Jessica Jones at some point in the show. Now, this was never confirmed. It was always a rumor. And to be honest, it's not out of the realm of possibility because Echo had some weird pre-production, then writing issues, a lot of stuff where during the writing of the show, they were told that they had to stop and just use what they had to make the show and make the finished episodes, whatever, which led to the season being just 5 episodes instead of what the original episode count, which was either 6 or 8 episodes. We're not sure. Probably 6 episodes, considering most of the other Disney Plus shows have had 6-episode first seasons. But we never found out for sure what the original episode count was going to be. This also led to Echo being the only Marvel Disney Plus show that got dropped all at once, where all 5 episodes were just dropped in a similar vein to the Marvel Netflix shows. So it has kind of drawn a lot of comparisons where people are like, Echo is the Disney Plus show that is most like the Marvel Netflix shows in terms of tone, vibe, structure, and also because of just the all-at-once episode drop. And you can sort of tell with Echo that they had some writing things, because episode 5, which was the finale, is in my opinion the weakest episode of the whole show, because it's a very random sort of episode. The editing is very strange, things just kind of get wrapped up extremely quickly and unceremoniously. It feels like the show just sort of stops out of nowhere after having been ramping up for the other episodes, and like there were things cut and removed in the final edit and in the writing and there was stuff. It feels very strange and unfortunate, because I do think Echo as a whole was a solid show, not amazing or anything, but overall a solid enough show and a good time. Now, do I think Jessica Jones and an extended Matt Murdock storyline were originally in this show? No. Personally, I don't think that, because there's only one Charlie Cox scene in the entire show. It's in the first episode, and it's a really cool fight scene, but it's a Daredevil fight scene that just shows some of what Echo was up to in the past and stuff like that, and how that relates to her and Fisk and stuff like it doesn't make sense to me that there was a whole Matt Murdock extended plot, because when you take into account how much of the show dealt with like Fisk's stuff and how much of the show dealt with like Echo's town and like all of her characters surrounding her and stuff like that, I don't think Matt Murdock really fit in or slot in anywhere. I think it would have felt like a really weird detour and kind of took the pacing away from everything else. It just would have been very strange. And for that to then be revealed to be like a Jessica Jones thing, it would have felt like the Matt Murdock storyline is a whole other show happening in the middle of Echo. And that would have just been a disservice to the show as a whole. Like, I do think that whole rumor was always kind of fake. Now, flash forward to early last year, shortly after Echo released and during Born Again's filming, Krysten Ritter made an Instagram post about a Jessica Jones book, and this got people saying, oh my god, does this mean she's coming back? Does this mean we're seeing the return of Jessica in Born Again or in the MCU in some form? And we never heard anything again since then. I'm not sure if this meant anything, but I personally think this is probably just Krysten posting because she saw that they were doing a Jessica Jones book, and she just posted about that and just was reminiscing about her time on the show. Now, in terms of Iron Fist, it's been said forever that Finn Jones was potentially the one Defender that wouldn't return if we ever saw the cast reunite. A lot of the leakers, well before we knew Born Again was a thing, well before even No Way Home was confirmed to have Charlie Cox in it, a lot of leakers would say that Charlie as Matt, John Bernthal as Frank, and Krysten Ritter as Jessica Jones were the three that were pretty much locked down, like that we were going to see the three of them again at some point. That Mike Colter as Luke Cage was a little bit more uncertain, a little bit more iffy, and that Finn Jones as Danny Rand's Iron Fist was pretty much a no, like very unlikely that everyone would be super surprised if we ever saw that character again. That said though, we did see Anson Mount return as Black Bolt in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is an insane pull, potentially more insane to me, I think, than seeing Finn Jones back as Danny Rand would have been. I think that was a crazy, out of left field thing that I never would have expected to see. But this is the not seeing Danny Rand in the MCU is kind of supported by Marvel's recent track record with the character of Iron Fist. Because Marvel Comics usually changes to match whatever is happening in the movies and TV shows with whatever is happening in the comics. Like they call this synergy and stuff like that between the different mediums. Like, for example, Inhumans were basically shelved in the comics in favor of other things when their movie turned into a show, and then when that show was ultimately cancelled. So showing the lack of kind of want for Inhumans on live action or on screen meant that Marvel pretty much took them away from the comics as well. Now, lately, Marvel in most forms has dropped the Danny Rand character, which does not sound good for seeing Danny in any upcoming Marvel projects as Iron Fist. People are saying it's potentially because it can look strange that there's a white American in the role of Iron Fist, considering everything surrounding the Iron Fist character. I don't know. I don't know about any of that. I'm not one to comment on any of that. I'm not going to get into any of that here. But Lin Lee made his debut as the new Iron Fist in Marvel Comics in 2018. Since then, he's kind of become the face of Iron Fist in the comics. He's the main Iron Fist you play as in Marvel's new game, Marvel Rivals, which, fantastic game, super fun game. I love it. It's currently my main game. I'm a Star-Lord main. Who do you main as in Marvel Rivals? Let me know. Anyway, this game is super, super, super popular, that it's kind of taken over Marvel in a way. It's dominating social media. Everyone's making TikToks about it. Everyone's making jokes about it. It's just a game that people are playing a lot. And it seems like it's so big that the popularity of characters in the game is sort of affecting how Marvel is viewing those characters in a wider area, like in terms of the comics or what they're showing in movies and TV shows. Like we've already heard about like Luna Snow and like Jeff the Shark making debuts in other parts of Marvel, like animated things or in like bigger roles in comics and stuff like that, which is showing because people are talking about those characters now due to the game. Similarly, when people are talking about Iron Fist now, a lot of the time they're talking about Lin Lee because that's the character in the game. Like, Iron Fist is one of the more talked about characters from the game, I feel like, because he's super OP. When he gets you in a corner and starts beating your ass, it's impossible to get out of the way, and it's really annoying. And everyone's making TikToks and jokes about it, about him just being a really awkward character to fight. So I feel like, for the first time in a long time, Iron Fist is like a well-known character, and it's completely because of the game. So when people are talking about Iron Fist now, like casual fans who might not have seen the show, they're probably referring to Iron Fist from Marvel Rivals, which is not Danny Rand, it's Lin Lee. And I feel like Iron Fist as a TV show was definitely the most underwatched of the 5 main Defenders shows, and it was also definitely the least liked of the 5 main Defenders shows. The reviews for Iron Fist Season 1 were brutal, almost as bad as Inhumans. So people already did not really like Iron Fist as a show. A lot of people didn't show up for Season 2 because they didn't like Season 1, which makes it kind of hard to get an audience for Danny Rand out of people who've seen the other show. Now, on top of this, and something I think is probably more telling than the Lin Lee stuff for where Marvel is going with the character, is that what if Season 3 came out in December, and an episode of that show actually included an Iron Fist? A young kid named Jun Fan appears who teams up with Kate Bishop and Shang-Chi and in Wild West 1800s episode of the show, which it was a really fun episode. I actually enjoyed it. Now, I think that's probably pretty telling on where Marvel currently stands with the character of Iron Fist in relation to Danny Rand. They didn't want to do Danny Rand in What If, so they created a new character completely for the show to use there. So I don't think that sounds good for Danny Rand's future in anything. But on to the question about if these guys are going to appear in Daredevil Born Again, or if we're going to see them again. Well, honestly, it is pretty feasible, in my opinion, for Jessica to appear, because she's been the one most rumored for years now. She's the one that was the most popular outside of Matt and Frank from the Netflix stuff. People love the actress, people love the character. Jessica Jones as a show was very un-Marvel-like in a lot of ways, and it drew in an audience that wasn't necessarily superhero fans. I remember when Season 1 came out in like November 2015, and one of my friends, she was talking to me about the show, how she was watching it. She was in no way a Marvel fan. Didn't watch the show, like didn't watch the movies at all, didn't watch any of the other shows, and she was watching Jessica Jones and texted me about it and was like, oh my god, this is really good. Like, Jessica Jones as a show was reaching out to an audience that weren't necessarily showing up for other Marvel stuff, because it was unique, and I feel like bringing her in would be a draw to another section that Marvel might be trying to tap into or might be trying to get into. Now, we've also heard that Born Again will feature cameos of characters we have no idea about. And if we're going to see any of them, I think Jessica is probably the most likely character to show up and the most accessible character to show up without a lot of backstory or without kind of needing to have seen her show or have seen the Defenders. Now, I would love to see her back. I think that would be a great, great thing. If we do get Jessica, I think it's pretty likely that Marvel would be testing the waters, I guess, to give us a whole new revival for Jessica Jones as a show. I think in the same vein as Daredevil Born Again, I could definitely see that happening at some point. And if we get Jessica, it's a pretty easy jump to slot Luke in beside her. Now, I don't think Luke is happening in Daredevil, but if we get Jessica in a Daredevil cameo sort of thing, I think that that could lead to a Jessica Jones revival show that then would include Luke in some form. Maybe not as a main character, but maybe in like the way Frank is in Born Again, where Frank's in his own little arc. That's a part of the overall show. I think we could see Luke in a small arc of a Jessica Jones revival show. It's similar, I guess, to how he was in Jessica Jones season 1, where he's not in the show for the whole season, but he is in there for a couple episodes, and he's a big chunk of those episodes. Now, the odd one out when talking here is Danny Rand. I don't think he's showing up in Daredevil, and I know he has ties to Luke due to Heroes for Hire in the comics and all that sort of stuff, but I don't really think a Luke Cage revival show is super likely. And since, like we said, the Iron Fist show wasn't the most popular thing out there, again, almost as badly received as Inhumans, I think we're probably looking at a case where when Marvel fully introduces Iron Fist into the MCU again, it'll be in like Shang-Chi 2 or something, and it'll be using the character of June Fan from What If, or even Lin Lee, because this way they're not recasting Danny, they're not decanonizing the Iron Fist show, they're just moving on from Danny Rand as a character and sort of allowing themselves to do new things. Like, Marvel have done this in the past where they don't want to decanonize something else, so they introduce a new version of a character that's not the same character, but like, you know, a legacy version of that character, so that they don't have to get actors back, they don't have to address other storylines, they can just do their own thing. I would love to see all of them back, but I guess that's kind of where I stand on all of them in terms of the likelihood. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think we're going to see these characters back at all? Do you think we're not going to see them back? Do you think I'm wrong about Danny Rand? Do you think he's actually coming back before anybody else? I mean, I'll disagree with you, but hey, maybe you'll be right. I don't know anything. Anyway, make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Make sure to like and share and all that sort of great stuff. Helps push the video out in front of the YouTube algorithm and all that sort of stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Have an amazing day.